is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for joining. Well, oh boy, a lot is happening, and we've got a lot to talk about on the program today. And I want to talk about what's going on in Portland, because what's going on in Portland is the same thing that's happening in Los Angeles at the ICE headquarters for the Battle of Los Angeles a few months back, what went on in DC, what's starting in Chicago. But Portland's a little different. And, what you have in the state of Oregon, Portland is the epicenter of it, but what you have in the state of Oregon is a state run by mental patients, and I don't mean that figuratively. They're insane, and they see the world in a completely different way than we, not era, but in a different way than we do. And what they don't understand, there's a new era. It's the Trump era, it's the MAGA era, and all this BS, right, where young doughboys, soy boys, and lunatic girls with blue and green hair can put masks on and attack federal officers and throw rocks and things. Those days are over. The days that you can be illegal from another country and set up a life in this country of retirement with free health care, education, food, and housing, those days are over. The days of human slave trafficking and sex trafficking being endorsed by the government, like it was with Biden's auto pit, those days are over. And I mean, the list goes on. And what President Trump is doing, by the way, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. And please like the video if you're already subbed. What President Trump is doing on so many different levels is taking our country back. I give an example. I'm sure I'm going to, on my podcast later today, I'm going to show that video that Benny Johnson took of Kristi Noem being refused entry to use the bathroom in Illinois at that police station. You know, what the Democrats are doing in Oregon, Chicago, California, Illinois in general, but what the Democrats are doing in Oregon, California, and Illinois is forming a new Confederate States of America, is what they're doing. They're forming a new Confederate States of America, and they are involved in an insurrection against the United States government. The United States government is run by President Trump, the 47th president of the United States. The federal government is run by MAGA Republicans. And when you won't let Kristi Noem come into a government building, who's the sitting secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, when she's there with her security detail, when you are arresting conservative reporters who were victimized by your liberal Antifa weirdos in Oregon, or you have millions of people on government assistance in California that are foreign nationals, you are taking part, if you're, these governors and these mayors, you are taking part in an insurrection against the government. By the Democrats' own definition, they're interrupting government business. Interrupting government business, CNN, MSNBC, and all the rest of them. They told us that was an insurrection. And in the instance of what these people are doing, this is like an armed insurrection, because they're using police or Antifa with bricks, right? Or illegals with something else. So this is, they're really, the governor of California, Oregon, and Illinois are really leading an armed insurrection, 3 Confederate states against the federal government of the United States. I mean, am I wrong? Do you see another way to describe that? I don't. And that is what is going on. Yeah, mostly peaceful bricks. Exactly. Yeah. And President Trump is taking our country back from these lunatics. On my podcast later, which you will not want to miss, I'm going to show the video excuse me, I'm going to show the video of these Antifa that Kristi Noem arrested in Oregon. What a bunch of dorks and geeks. They're all brave with their masks on and their freaking Power Ranger costumes where they think they look tough, but they're really a bunch of geeks, aren't they? Freaks and geeks. I don't think this is hot. It's hot. It's the milk on top is not. Welcome. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to my channel, and don't miss my podcast later, okay? It'll be live, taking live calls right here on YouTube. Yeah, so this is great because President Trump is doing so many things that no one thought could be done, right? The deportations. I was reading this morning, you may have seen that Pete Hegseth acknowledged that they took out another drug cartel boat bringing poison drugs to the United States. But I was reading an article this morning that talked about how the United States military is going to be sent in to take possession of cartel areas, ports, and other facilities used to traffic drugs in Venezuela. We have something in this country called the Monroe Doctrine. And the Monroe Doctrine, put in by President Monroe, is against any foreign influence in the Western Hemisphere. And this drug trafficking, you have a couple things with the drug traffickers. One, China's behind a lot of it. It's one of the ways that they're attacking the United States, right? China. So that's a violation of the Monroe Doctrine. Plus, they're terrorists. They may say narco-terrorist. You don't need to put the hyphenated thing on there. These drug cartels are terrorist organizations and killers. I mean, they're killing. These drug cartel terrorists kill more people than Al Qaeda and ISIS combined, right? Every year. So things are going incredibly well for this country because this is, all these dumbasses on MSNBC, make America great again. What does that mean, you racist rednecks? Give me a break, all right? Yeah. What I'm talking about right now, this is what Trump means by make America great again. Rid of these dysfunctional mental patient dorks, freaks, and lunatics in Portland, Antifa, of having their control. Rid of the tens of millions of illegals that are draining the system and raping and murdering our women. Take it back from the drug traffickers that just bring all the poison into the country. All these things. That is what make America great again means. That's right. It's a beautiful day, man. The weather is spectacular. We're out of the 200-degree weather in Florida, and it's getting down to, it's really nice. I rode the MAGA scooter today. Welcome, everyone. Make sure you subscribe if you were new to my channel. But that's what you're seeing right now. This is what make America great again means. That's it. That's it. I was watching, I give you an example, like what Pete Hegseth was talking with the military the other day. All these woke generals and admirals, that have just effed up everything in our military. I saw a photograph, I remember last year, a photograph of a Marine in uniform. He took a picture and he was smiling. Now, those of you, any Marines in here, my dad's a Marine, and wasn't that long ago, Marines were not supposed to smile in uniform for photographs because Marines were supposed to be tough badasses. Now they're smiling ear to ear like a bunch of lunatics. But I give you an example of how things have gotten twisted in this country with all this woke crap. Right before I came here this morning, I was watching one of those YouTube channels that, one of those legal channels that shows police stops, and it was body camera footage from these cops. And this lady cop pulls over a woman who cut through a parking lot to avoid a red light, okay? And she was really giving the woman a hard time. And she asked her to exit. I might, if I look on my history, maybe I'll put it in the community section of my channel here. But it really shows you how things have gotten bad. So the woman had an expired license. She'd had expired license from Texas, from Hawaii, another state or something like this. And she didn't want to get out of the car, so the lady officer arrested her. So then they have two other officers respond. So you got two lady cops and one male cop who's like, the male cop is the woman out of the three. Yeah, Marine here. So you know what I mean about smiling. I couldn't believe when I saw this Marine smiling. So anyway, these three cops have this woman out of the car and they put cuffs on her and put her in the back of the cruiser. And they're going to charge her with obstruction or resisting arrest and driving on an expired license. Well, her husband pulls up on his motorcycle, and he's a veteran. Not a veteran, he's active duty military, excuse me. This was here in Florida. He's active duty military, stationed on the Gulf of America coast of Florida, over in, I think it was Fort Myers. And he explains to the officers, because she is the wife of an active duty military person, that even though her license is expired in Texas, it's still valid. There's some exceptions for military, active duty military and their families. And one of the lady officers says, well, I'm military, that's not true. So he pulls up the statute on his phone and he reads it to her. And they said, well, you know, she didn't want to get out of her car, even though they had no probable cause to take her out of the car. So they arrested the wife of this veteran. Now later on, or not veteran, active duty. He's active duty. I keep saying veteran. He's active duty. So these two lady cops and this effeminate soy boy cop, they arrested the wife of an active duty military person right here in Florida because she cut through a parking lot to avoid a red light, which everybody's done. Come on, that's just a minor ticket. She had an expired license that wasn't expired because of the military exception for active duty military and their families, immediate families, and they arrested her. What kind of honor is that? What kind of dignity is that for these cops? One of the cops, the lady cop in charge, said she's military. Where is the respect for? It's not like she robbed a bank or was involved in a hit and run. She cut through a parking lot, and they arrested her for resisting. What kind of bullshit is that? You know, here's a woman in the military. There's no honor, no honor. And what a decent person would do is say, hey, you know what? You're active duty military. I respect you. Hey, we're not going to arrest your wife. Let me just give her a ticket for cutting through the parking lot. Everything be okay. They arrested her. Now the state's attorney tossed out the charges, but she might have to write on applications for the rest of her life that she's been arrested. And what the point of this story and how it relates to what Pete Hegseth did the other day and what President Trump is doing right now is this. There's no sense of honor or unity among these liberals in this country. They have no respect for our country, no respect for our American people, even the ones that are wearing guns and badges and are cops, okay? And this was here in Florida, on the Gulf of America coast. No respect for our active duty military or our veterans. Liberals, to sum it up, liberals are assholes. That's it. They're un-American assholes that are pissed off and they're angry at everything and they don't like any, they have no respect. They don't, you know, who the hell would arrest the wife of an active duty military person on a minor thing like that? Right? Some woke piece of crap. That's who. Yeah, and that's what's happened. That's a liberal cop. So, you know, you look at Nick Sorter, who got arrested in Portland. He gets his ass kicked by these lunatic Antifa, and the cops arrest him. And I know Pam Bondi's getting all involved, but there's not much she can do on a local case like this. It's outside of her jurisdiction. And you know, you put this case that I'm talking about right now with this active duty military wife. That was this year. That was 2025. Don't assume, you know, as conservatives, as MAGA, we support the police, right? People make the mistake, and Nick Sorter in Portland is an example of this story that I just shared with you in the red state of MAGA, Florida. There's no state more MAGA than Florida, and this crap happened. Most cops are liberal Democrats, okay? They're government workers. Most of them are left-wing Democrats. Not all, but most of them are, especially in these blue cities like Portland. So don't just assume because somebody's got a gun and a badge that they're on our side, especially if they're an overweight woman who's a cop, who doesn't even pass the basic fitness to be a cop, right? You know, you can't, most cops are liberal, especially in this day and age. You know, my grandfather is a veteran of World War II, was in Patton's Army, Battle of the Bulge, and he was part of the liberation of one of the concentration camps. My grandfather, when we got out of the service, he was in the police force in Columbus, Ohio for 35 years. He was a police officer, and I remember when he was a cop, they had all these things. They had height requirements to be police officers, all kinds of fitness requirements to be police officers, you know. And I remember I had a cousin who wanted to be a police officer. He couldn't get hired because he was too short. Now you got these fat asses and doughboys and, you know, I mean, there's no, it's just like what Pete Hegseth was talking about with the military. There are no standards. There's just no standards, you know, and because there's no standards, you know, there's no class, there's no dignity. You know, you saw how those cops were, they're very proud of themselves for arresting Nick Sorter in Portland. These cops I was talking about arresting the wife of active duty military here in Florida, they're proud of themselves. These DEI hires, right? I mean, that's just the way it is in this country right now. And President Trump, what President Trump is doing, a lot of people say taking our country back. Yeah, but another way to say it that I think is more accurate is it's a reset. What Trump is doing is a reset back to normal, right? A reset back to normal. I mean, that's a big part of what it is that he's doing, right? You know, and we see it everywhere. I mean, look at this governor in Illinois, Governor Fatso in Illinois. I mean, you know, this guy in Illinois is actively opposing federal agents in his state working within their jurisdiction on deportation operations. Actively opposing a cabinet secretary who's a direct representative of the President of the United States. If that is not an insurrection, I don't know what the freak is, right? I mean, you know, what he's doing. And you're seeing it in all of these Democrat states. And this Kristi Noem had a great answer about this. She says, yeah, they're going to be at the Super Bowl ice because Homeland Security is in charge of security at the Super Bowl. This bad bunny. You know, what an FU by the NFL with everything that's going on to bring an anti-ICE guy that doesn't even sing in English to one of the greatest events every year in the United States, the Super Bowl. Having an anti-ICE person performing at the halftime at the Super Bowl would be like having an atheist preside over church services on Easter. It's just, you know, it's hardcore activism by the NFL. And I know they have this tax-free status. That should be revoked. I know he's American. He's Puerto Rican. I understand that. You know, but he's opposing ICE. He's actively encouraging, resisting federal officers. ICE agents are federal officers, federal agents. You don't resist federal agents. And that's what he's encouraging people to do. It's a big FU. You know, and I hope they do deportations at the Super Bowl. But he doesn't sing in English. He does not sing in English, and he opposes ICE openly. And he's transgender, right? He does all this trans stuff. I don't know. I don't know if he's trans or not, but I keep. Hold on a second, guys. There's some noise. I got to mute the mic. Just give me a minute, guys. There's some noise going on. All right, yeah. So that's what's going on here. And sorry, a guy was blasting music, so I had to mute it. Kissimmee, welcome, 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 welcome. Now, no, hold on. I got to mute it again. He'll be leaving in just a second. He's a delivery guy. Hold on. I'll tell you what he's doing when he leaves. Hold on. It's a form of protest. I'll tell you about it when he pulls away. I can't wait to tell you what this guy's doing. He's almost done. I'll tell you what the guy's doing. Unbelievable. right, the protester's leaving. I'll tell you what he's been doing in a minute. Hold on. Okay, the guy, this guy's unbelievable. You know, I come here from time to time to stream on the weekends. I haven't been here in a while since they assassinated Charlie Kirk. Guy's a liberal delivery driver, right? And he knows the stream and me. So he saw me. I haven't been here in a few weeks since they killed Charlie. He saw me with the hat, so he did two things. He turned up Spanish language music on the radio in his delivery truck. He's delivering food to a breakfast restaurant that's about to open. So he's blasting Spanish speaking music. I don't know what the freak it says. And then he's got turned up. I guess it's on his phone or something, because it would go in and out as he went in and out of the store with his delivery, the restaurant. He has MSNBC on, so he's got MSNBC on full blast on a speaker on his body, and he's got Spanish music going on, really loud in his truck. He's never done that before, and he knows me, and he's doing that because you can't have the music on YouTube, so he's trying, call ICE, yeah. Exactly. Now this is a noise canceling mic. It's a new mic, so I don't know how much noise canceling it's doing between me and where he was, but it was pretty loud. Yeah, it's Trump derangement syndrome. Screw him. Trump. And during the whole time, because I'm standing here, he keeps turning it up louder and louder, and every time I come here to live stream, he brings a delivery around the same time. He's usually here 3 minutes, 3 to 5. How long did I have it muted? He took extra long, and he's putzing around in the back of his truck. He's putzing around on the sidewalk, putzing around in his cat. He never does that. Whatever. Okay. Ooh, that was some protest. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. A dummy. So what President Trump's doing is making America great again with Portland, Chicago, what he's done in D.C., what he's going to do elsewhere. I call it the Great American Reset. He's resetting us back to normal, right? Back to normal. And that's what Pete Hegseth was talking about to the woke generals and admirals the other day. They're so out of control with, and what he was really reprimanding them, and he was dressing them down and took them all to the woodshed. And what he was really saying is, all this crap, you're responsible for it, right? And I wonder how many of those admirals and generals are going to retire. How many of them are not going to be able to pass the physical fitness test? I like when he said, I get pissed off when I see fat soldiers, but I also get upset when I see fat generals and admirals walking around the Pentagon. Woo-hoo. Yep. Yeah, this guy doing his protest with his Spanish music at MSNBC. Give me a break. Let me see if anybody can guess. When did this pro-fat thing start? It was started by an individual. Let me see if anybody can get it. What individual started this fat trend that's been going on in the United States that's led to where we are now? Does anyone know? Does anyone know? I'll tell you, it's been a while. Nope. Lizzo? Nope. You got to go back further than that. J-Lo. When J-Lo got cast to play Selena, they started this fat ass thing, right? That was the beginning of it. And she's not overweight or anything. She's a weirdo. But it started with that. J-Lo, when she got cast as Selena. That's when it started. And that's where we are now. When you know these Antifa arrests, I was thinking about that because of, yep. No, that was the beginning of it, silly goose. No, that was the beginning of it. It was a big thing. It was a big thing. That was the beginning. But I was watching the video that Benny Johnson's been embedded with ICE. So I don't know who took this video, but I saw the video of the federal agents who arresting the Antifa unmasked. You look at these Antifa that they arrested in Portland, unmasked. They are the geekiest, dorkiest people you could imagine, aren't they? Have you seen them? They're rejects of society, and they feel all important with their masks and black clothing on and their Power Ranger costumes from Toys R Us that they wear for knee pads and stuff. Kids' hockey gear that they're wearing, whatever it is they're wearing, they feel like they're so tough when they're behind it. But when you see them with the mask off, a bunch of soy boys and old people and mental cases. Yep. That's it. Mental cases. Tactical video gamers. Exactly. Yep. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll have a new podcast later, so make sure you're subscribed and click the notification bell. I'll be taking live calls on that. But I have some things to do early this morning. I wanted to have some coffee and wake up. I get calls from people from Oregon, from Portland in particular on the show. You've heard, even this week, I've heard from people. Not everybody in Portland is some blue-haired, green-haired girl or some Twitch streamer who thinks they're some badass in a mask throwing bricks at crap. There's good people in these cities that are being held hostage. And we're taking back these, and they can't play the race card. What I noticed, there's not a lot of diversity with this Antifa. Seems to be like a white organization. Does Antifa look like a white organization to you? I know they do joint ops with BLM, but when I see the Antifa arrest, there is white. Is it fair to say Antifa is a white nationalist, white supremacist organization? Yeah, they're like the whitest group out there. They're whiter than me. Have you noticed that when we see who they arrest? It's true. I don't know, is Antifa, do they have a racial requirement? Do you have to be white to join? You would think. White and ugly. Yeah. It seems that way. I don't know. Yeah. They ally with Black Lives Matter, but I don't see any black Antifa. You can be a white nationalist supremacist and ally with non-white people. The Nazis were allied with the Japanese, right? Japanese aren't white. Gulf of America, damn straight. Oh no, this is Gulf of America. The weather is perfect in Florida right now. This is just awesome weather. It really, truly is. most of the land that borders the Gulf is the United States. And, you know, President Trump calling it the Gulf of America, he didn't call it the Gulf of the United States. He called it the Gulf of America. I mean, that covers everything. Why does Mexico want to put their name of their third world shithole on the beautiful Gulf of America? It's not the Gulf of the United States, it's the Gulf of America. That covers everything. I'm surprised the joggers aren't out. You know, all these joggers who that run for cardiovascular fitness, here I am. I do no exercise, and I've got, Life Imaging FLA, you guys heard me talk about in the mornings on the radio, and in the mornings I have 54 years old, about 300 cholesterol for 25, 30 years. I don't eat all that healthy food. I don't exercise. No plaque buildup and no blockage in any of my arteries. Is that absolutely amazing? I got to tell you, when I got that, you've heard me talk about this. It's so true. I feel like such a weight lifted off of me. I thought I was going to have 30, 40% blockage. It's made me a lot happier. I mean, I don't have that worry anymore. I thought I was going to die. I really thought I was going to die. I thought, I'm 54, so I've been expecting to have a heart attack at some point in my 50s because of my high cholesterol. Because every doctor I've had told me I'm going to have a heart attack. I bet you my arteries are in better condition than these dumbass joggers that come here every morning and run. That's right. It's true. Some of them are my age. You think I have zero plaque buildup and zero blockage in any of my arteries, in my entire body, heart, body, everything. Do you think my heart's in better shape than these runners? I bet you it is. I bet you it is. Feels good. I'm so excited. Sorry, liberals. I'm going to live a long time. I also have no cancer. Oh man, this is just a great time. Just a great time. And one thing I love about President Trump taking back Portland from these soy boy gamers and blue hair ugly girls, green hair girls, is they can't claim racism. They can't claim racism because it's almost exclusively white. Oh, man. Oh, no. No. Mossad did not kill Charlie Kirk. Dumbest things I've ever heard. A lot of people, do any of you notice that Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson... Let me ask you this question, because I don't, is Tucker Carlson taking money? Do you believe Tucker Carlson is compromised by Qatar, by the Middle East, by the Muslims? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Is Tucker Carlson corrupt or taking money from Qatar and the Muslims? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Yes, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees with that, yeah. I mean, there's been documents out there. Loomer's talked about it. Yeah, Laura Loomer came up with a great name, Tucker Carlson. I like that. Okay, so Megyn Kelly has not only been buddying up with Tucker, she's been defending Tucker. So is she getting roped in with those people? Here's the thing. I mean, let me know what you think about Megyn. Here's the thing from that we're seeing going on. I don't think it's really appropriate to call the mainstream media because they're not mainstream anymore, right? People like me are the mainstream media. Me, Tucker, Megan, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, all of us, the Quartering, we're all the mainstream media now, right? And we're good guys. We want it, most of us. See, these influences used to buy off the legacy media, the old school media. And that's wasted money now because they have no influence. So they're making their way to buy off new media people. That's it. I mean, that's what's going on, right? Yeah, they're buying their way in with the new media because that's where the people go now. So you got to be very, very careful. You know, people have agendas. And, you know, it is surprising to me. I find out sometimes who's behind different podcasts and influencers. And, you know, there are a lot of people that have podcasts that talk about issues, news and issues. They're not necessarily independent. And you'd be surprised how many of them, some of them are your favorite, are backed by big money people. You know, and you know, you talk a lot about how Hollywood, people know Hollywood's pretty much shut down. They don't make movies or TV shows too much in Hollywood anymore. They film a lot of podcasts that you see right here on YouTube and elsewhere in sound stages in Hollywood. And you don't even know who's behind some of these people. A lot of these people that you watch have big corporate interest behind them. So what's going on now is that it's a transition that's happening, but it's happened much more than the general public realize. That a lot of your favorite podcasters and stuff are with big corporations. You know how a lot of people rightly point out that the news they're controlled by big pharma through advertising. They're doing the same thing with a lot of conservative podcasters, and not just conservative podcasters in general, and influencers. A lot of them, I know, you know, there's a lot that, Israel's trying to buy their way in. That's Saul Alinsky, accuse my opponent of doing what I'm doing kind of thing. And I'm not saying that there's anything necessarily wrong or corrupt about that. But, you know, there's actually, when you're done watching me, I'm not sure what to search for. You guys can find this, but there's someone put out a video not too long ago about how big investment firms are buying YouTube channels, and a lot of the top YouTubers outside of the news and politics are being bought up by big investment firms, and they get bought up by them. They're kind of like a front for some big mega corporation to get their agenda through, but they got one layer removed. You can search on YouTube, you'll find some videos about it, and I saw that a couple weeks back, and I can't remember what to search for with that, but it's a video. It's about how some of your favorite YouTubers are owned by big investment companies, venture capitalist firms, and it's not about news people. But then I started doing some investigating on some of the news podcasters and influencers, both liberal and conservative, and I cannot believe how many of them are owned by or backed by or owned in part by big companies. You know, so, you know, the point being is you just have to be careful where you get news and information from, because a lot of people that you watch, even if it's not news and politics, they have big corporations behind them, but you don't know it because their operation doesn't change that much, or all of a sudden they've got 1 million plus subscribers, or every video they gets 400,000 or 500,000 views, or 1 million plus. Those are people that have big money behind them to do the marketing of the program. So the transition's already happened, but it's growing, of how the big money interests are no longer wasting their money buying the CBS people off, or NBC News people off, or the newspaper people. They're going after the online people. And it's happening more and more all the time. Oh yeah, here come some of the joggers. I would put my heart scan up against their heart scans. Being independent is, it's you know, what happens is they, you know, there's one of the things don't miss my podcast today, because one of the things I'm going to cover, I'm not going to get into the details of this now because I'm going to talk about it on my podcast later. The Republican establishment have not gone away. They're just in the background plotting and planning. And what they think, this is how they rationalize. They think that when President now they're a little nervous about JD and Pete Hegseth, because Pete Hegseth, his address to the military generals and admirals was the most amazing thing. And then JD Vance when he took over the White House press conference from Caroline Leavitt, it wasn't just spectacular. He has a skill set that Trump doesn't even have, right? And that's saying a lot. Now, and if you go back and watch this, you'll see it. JD Vance, when he took questions from these fake news reporters in the press corps, they came at him and he started answering the questions. He won them over. They were laughing at his jokes. Did you see that? JD Vance had the fake news media laughing at his jokes on his side, laughing with him at the left. I haven't seen Trump get that done with them. So the Republican establishment are scared shitless about JD Vance and Pete Hegseth. And that was my biggest takeaway, is how he got the press, and he was there for just a couple of minutes. He got the press on his side. And the White House press corps, they're the biggest Trump derangement syndrome sufferers in America. And JD had them laughing at his jokes and won them over. Who could do that? I mean, JD Vance has, you know how every superhero, you know, if you watch these superhero movies, every superhero has their own particular power, right? Superman has them all, but all the other ones, they have one like power. You know, one's super fast, one can fly. You know what I mean? JD Vance's superpower is his ability to charm even a hostile crowd and put them on his side. It's almost like he has the power of mind control, JD Vance, and he used it on those people in the media and had him on his side. That's a superpower. And basically the Trump cabinet is the super friends. But that's a superpower that I've not seen a Republican ever have. Certainly not a MAGA Republican. Not to that degree. So they're freaking out. But the Republican establishment, even though they're worried about JD and Pete and Marco, they're planning a comeback. They think that after Trump is out of office, that they're going to be able to just walk right back in. I'm going to go over what they're plotting on the podcast today, so don't miss it. So you got to be careful, and so one of the ways you've got to be careful is for the Republican establishment to take its hold on people that bring you news and political content. You know, you got to, you know, are these, you know, when you hear people. You got to really start paying attention to your new media people, if they are you know, the MAGA movement is here to stay. I mean, this is the, you know, and J.D. Vance is going to be the second MAGA president. I mean, with that superpower he has of basically mind control. I mean, he took a room of hostile Trump derangement syndrome sufferers that have been suffering from Trump derangement syndrome for over a decade, and he won them over in about a minute, 2 minutes, and had them laughing with his jokes as soon as he started taking questions. If that's not a superpower, I don't know what the freak it is. The power of mind control. You know. Now, as soon as he leaves, they're back to the Trump derangement when they get back to Carolyn Levitt. He has to be in the room and be conversing. You know, that's his kryptonite is he has to be in the room conversing with them. As soon as he leaves the room, they go back to Trump derangement syndrome. But they're definitely, you know, planning a comeback. No doubt. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to my channel. But I was pretty impressed. I was very impressed with J.D. Vance. I'd never really seen him like that. Never really seen him like that. Not in that kind of forum. With so many hostile people. Even the beard question. Yeah, how could you not be impressed? That is some amazing thing he did. Mm-hmm. You don't think that made the establishment nervous? All these runners over there doing their stretches. They're all stretching their legs and everything. Here I am sitting on my ass, and I got 54 completely, no plaque buildup, no blockage. You think these guys have no blockage? I don't think so. I don't think so. Middle-aged people jogging is probably one of the major causes of heart attacks in America. I wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm. I know. I'm very excited since I got my heart scan. I really am. You've been hearing me talk about it this week on the radio. Man. I was so nervous before I got that scan because I was expecting to have been having surgery by this point, having stents put in or bypass surgery. 300 cholesterol, no plaque buildup, no blockage. That's freaking amazing. It's such a weight lifted off of my body. Yeah, Grinder. You know, I played a video. Maybe I'll play it on the podcast today. But on one of the live streams, I showed a video. Maybe I'll show it again today. Rosie O'Donnell, in one of her meltdowns this week, said that there's somebody going to release Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House's Grinder profile. You know, she's so deep with her Trump derangement syndrome that she actually thinks that Mike Johnson has a Grinder profile. Even if he was of that persuasion, would he put a profile up on Grinder? Yeah, that's some hardcore Trump derangement, man. That is some hardcore Trump derangement syndrome. Rosie's cholesterol is over 450. Yeah, exactly. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm finished up the coffee, so I'm going to head home, finish up some work, and then I will podcast later. But I'll take you guys. You guys want to see the MAGA scooter? This is my, this is like my wife got me this keychain for the MAGA scooter. Is that not a great keychain? Trump on one side, and then of course the other side, our great American flag. But Trump on this side. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and it's nice. Nice quality too, very high quality keychain. I'll show you guys the MAGA scooter. Hey, my Vespa. This is the MAGA Scooter 2.0. You want to see the front of the MAGA Scooter? Yeah. No. Well, listen, guys, thanks for watching. Catch the podcast later. Make sure you subscribe, all right? I'll see you in a bit on the podcast. Take care.